الحمد لله الذي هدانا للإسلام ومن علينا به وأخرجنا في خير أمة فنسأله التوفيق لما يحب ويرضى والحفظ مما يكره ويسخط. الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام والسنة. قال إمام البربهاري رحمه الله تعالى: اعلموا أن الإسلام هو السنة والسنة هي الإسلام ولا يقوم أحدهما إلا بالآخر. Imam al-Barbahari rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions, as he says, i'lamu, and know, have knowledge, that verily Islam is the sunnah, and the sunnah, it is Islam, and one is not established except with the other. One is not established except with the other. Ya ikhwa wa akhawat, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, over the course of this weekend, we want to benefit from Sharh al-Sunnah by Imam al-Barbahari. So I encourage everyone to come to the lessons with a copy of the matan of Sharh al-Sunnah, or with the translation of the matan for Sharh al-Sunnah, to have this with you on your person inside of the class, whether that is the physical form or the book or the digital form, what have you, that you have with you a copy of the book, inshallah ta'ala. Also, I encourage that everyone, they have with them a multi-subject book, or that they have with them a number of notebooks. One wherein they will write down the benefits that they heard from the tellings. So one with the tellings. And then in each section, put the name of the sheikh and the title of the dars, and then write your notes therein. And when you finish with that, then the next telling will be there. So all the tellings and the benefits that you have from the tellings, they will be in one section, easily organized. Likewise, for the general talks, to have talk 1, 2, 3, what have you, and the student who was giving that particular talk and the benefits that came therein, and so on and so forth. And then with the other sections, you could either rewrite these sections neatly, because of what is written in class a lot of times is more messier than that which is written when you're at your own pace and the like. So you can organize these notes and so on and so forth. Now, and the like. So I encourage everyone to have a pen and a paper and the items of which were mentioned, inshallah. And likewise for the pens, make sure you have an adequate amount of pens with you. So don't come with just one pen because it might die and then you're stuck. Come with a few pens, pencils, and that which you like. Whatever is your fancy as relates to writing instruments, then bring that which you like to write with, a few of them, inshallah ta'ala. Imam al-Barbahari, he began this tremendous book by saying, اعلموا. وقال العلامة الشيخ صالح الفوزان حفظه الله تعالى قوله اعلم, his statement اعلم, right, have knowledge. The Shaykh, he says, هذه كلمة الاهتمام. This is a kalima which is indicative of something that is important. ومعنى اعلم, and the meaning of اعلم أي تعلم. When it says know, then what is meant by it is learn. Know meaning learn. And the Shaykh, he says, كيف تعلم أن الإسلام هو السنة? He said, how is it that you can know that Islam is the sunnah? How would an individual come to know that Islam is the sunnah? Naam. The Shaykh, he says, إذا ta'allamt, alimt. You see that? He said, if you learn, then you'll know. If you learn, then you'll know. إِذَا تَعَلَّمْتَ عَلِمْتَ ذَلِكَ. If you learn, then you will know that. So this shows us, and this is an indication to us, that it is incumbent that we learn. Because no one comes out of the womb of his mother being an alim. No one comes out from the womb of his mother being an alim. But we have to seek knowledge, and we have to study and acquire knowledge. So verily the acquisition of knowledge, it will be by learning. إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمِ بِالتَّعَلُّمِ. That verily the acquisition of knowledge is by learning, it's by studying. And this is why the likes of these gatherings are important. And they are a reminder to us. And they are that which will encourage us, inshallah ta'ala, and revitalize us, bithnillahi ta'ala, and bring more enthusiasm to our learning, inshallah ta'ala. But it is just that. And it is incumbent that we all benefit, and we understand that point. That we benefit from the likes of these gatherings and these workshops and so on and so forth, and conferences and the like, and we benefit from them. But the standpoint and the benefit of these things is just as a reminder, is something that is in addition, right, to our daily regimen, our daily learning. But learning, it has to be something that is consistent. It has to be something that is consistent. So just like we are gathered here right now for the conference, likewise we have to be gathered for the weekly classes. Those classes that appear in the week, we have to make sure that we show up, pen in hand, notebook in hand, book in hand, whatever is needed for that particular class, that you have it in hand. And if that is an excuse and a justification for you to go out and buy a nice book bag or briefcase, so you can put everything neatly therein and hold your pens together therein and your tablet and whatever, then utilize that as an excuse to go out and treat yourself to a nice bag, inshallah ta'ala. But the point is, you want it for its functionality. So we encourage you to take the classes seriously, because knowledge is gathered over the course of days and nights. مَنْ رَامَ عِلْمْ جُمْلَةً ذَهَبَ عَنْهُ جُمْلَةً. As the ulama, they say, whoever tries to get knowledge all at one time, it leave them all at one time. But it's acquired through the course of days and the course of nights. So therefore, we have to know that Islam is the Sunnah and the Sunnah is al-Islam. How are we going to know that? We have to learn it. We have to learn it. We have to learn it. Shaykh Fawzan, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he says, فَاعْلَمْ. He says, so this kalima, it comes, and when it comes is indicative, that is going to point to something that is important. The Shaykh, he says, كَلِمَةٌ تُؤْتَى بِهَا لِاهْتِمَامٍ لِمَا بَعْدَهَا. It comes so as to indicate to us that which comes after it is very important. Now, when you hear this kalima, it's to draw your attention. It grabs your attention. Why? Because you know that which comes after it is extremely important. So you find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the Shaykh, he says, كما قال تعالى فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Allah ta'ala says in His noble book, what means, and know, fa'lam, have ilm, that what? That nothing has the right to be worshipped in truth except Allah. وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ. And seek and ask for forgiveness for your sins. Ask for forgiveness for your sins. عَلَى كُلِّ حَالٍ, we see that this kalima is followed by that which is extremely important. اعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله. The Shaykh, he says, يعني اعلم معنى لا إله إلا الله. It means that you have to know the meaning of لا إله إلا الله. That this ayah is a dalil that you have to, one, I want you to have this in your books. One, you have to know the meaning of La ilaha illallah. So based upon this here, and this ayah, it can be found in Surah Muhammad. It can be found in Surah Muhammad and is verse 19. Based upon this, we see that it is obligatory upon us to know the meaning of La ilaha illallah. So therefore, would it be acceptable for a person to be ignorant of La ilaha illallah? Would that be acceptable? No, it's not acceptable. But it's of extreme importance that we know the meaning of La ilaha illallah. And this is one of those things which helps you to appreciate the people of the Sunnah. It helps you to appreciate in specific the ulama. Because the ulama, they strive hard to teach the Muslims the affairs of at-Tawheed. At the head of them, the meaning of La ilaha illallah. They strive hard in teaching the people. So you find from the ulama many explanations and daily lessons going over Kitab al-Tawheed, going over Thalathatul Usul, going over Kashf al-Shubuhat, and so on and so forth. The ulama, they have extended themselves and worked very hard and very diligently in authoring books explaining to the Muslims the affairs of at-Tawheed, like Kitab Aqidat al-Tawheed, Shaykh Fawzan, hafidhahullah ta'ala. Tremendous books. They spend much time and much effort in teaching the people the affairs of at-Tawheed. So this gives you an appreciation for the ulama, because we understand the importance of at-Tawheed and how vital it is for the Muslim. Also, it's another illustration, and it adds to our hatred that we have for the people of bid'ah, because they're not concerned with the affairs of at-Tawheed. They don't stress and exert themselves in teaching the people about Tawheed, but rather they intentionally and maliciously avoid Tawheed. And they say things like, Tawheed separates the people. Ya Salaam. This is what they say. Tawheed separates the people. And this is their excuse as to why they don't teach at Tawheed. Why they're talking about seerah, or why they're talking about tazkiyah, and why they're talking about fiqh, and things of this nature. And then when it's asked, why don't you teach the people about it? Tawheed. Tawheed is important. It's the first thing that we have to call to. They say, no, Tawheed separates the people. And this makes us what? It makes us hate these people for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like we've just heard from our Shaykh Ali Wasifi, hafidhahullah ta'ala, we have to be of those who love for Allah, love for the sake of Allah Jalla wa ala. We have to be those who hate for the sake of Allah Jalla wa ala. Those who are united, and those who have loyalty for the sake of Allah Jalla wa ala, and those who disavow and have disloyalty based for what? For the sake of Allah Jalla wa ala. Ala kulli hal, we see here in this example, and that's one, that we have to know it. We have to know La ilaha illallah. But is that it? That's enough? We just got to know about it, then that's it? Huh? Shaking the heads, right? No, it's not enough. That's part of it. We have to know it. And then the Shaykh, he says, وَعْمَلْ بِهِ, and we have to act in accordance to it. We have to act in accordance to it. So we have to, 1, know it, 2, act in accordance to it. And this is what is meant. فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنبِكَ. And know that nothing has the right to worship the truth except Allah, and ask for forgiveness for your sins. We have to know it, and we have to act in accordance to it. We have to live by it. The Shaykh, he says, bringing another example, Allah Ta'ala, he says, اِعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. And this ayah, it can be found in Surah Al-Ma'idah, in its verse 98, where Allah Ta'ala, he says what means, and know, all of you know, that verily Allah is severe in punishment, and Allah, He is the all-forgiving, the one who is merciful. Allah Ta'ala is all-forgiving, all-merciful, or extremely merciful to the believers. As the Shaykh, he says that this kalima, it comes to show us something that is important, and that which comes after it is important. And that which is expressed after i'lamu is very important, right? Verily Allah is severe in punishment. Person has to know that. And Allah Ta'ala, He's all forgiving, most merciful. It's very important. The person has to know that. The Shaykh, he says, فَتَأْتِي كَلِمَةُ إِعْلَمْ أَوْ إِعْلَمُ لِاهْتِمَامِ لِمَا بَعْدَهَا. So therefore, the kalima of إِعْلَمْ or إِعْلَمُ, it comes so as is indicative to the importance of that which comes after it. So the kalima إِعْلَمْ أو إِعْلَمُ, it comes and is indicative to the what? You tell me. What's indicative of? Now.
The importance of what comes after it.
So the importance of that which comes after it. Everyone agrees with him? No. It comes and it shows us that it's indicative to the importance of that which comes after it. And we find this in the Quran. We find this example as in these two ayats. And then what helps us to better appreciate the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah is that you find the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah, even inside of their writings and so on and so forth, you see the guidance of the Quran and the Sunnah therein. So therefore, Imam al-Barbahari, he started by saying, what? I'lamu. No. Likewise, Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, I'lam. أنه يجب علينا تعلم أربع مسائل. And know that is wajib upon us to know four affairs. Na'am. And this is what? In imitating the book and the Sunnah. So you find that the A'imma, even their manner and way in which that they write is influenced by the book and the Sunnah. Unlike the people of innovation who they are upon that which is contrary to the Kitab and the Sunnah, even down to their uslub and asalib and the way in which they write and the mannerisms of writing and so on and so forth. وَقَوْلُهُ Islam huwa Sunnah wa Sunnah hiya al-Islam. And his statement that Islam is the Sunnah and the Sunnah it is Islam. The Shaykh, he says, يعني إسلام هو الطريق التي جاء به أو جاء بها الرسل عليهم الصلاة والسلام. He said it means that يعني Islam, this is the way in which the messengers عليهم الصلاة والسلام they came with. This is the way of the messengers عليهم الصلاة والسلام. كل الرسل جاءوا بالإسلام. All of the messengers they came with Islam. All of them. Now, all of the prophets and the messengers they came with Islam. So Isa alayhi salam, he came with what religion? Islam. What about Musa alayhi salam? What religion he came with? Islam. What about Idris alayhi salam? What religion he come with? Islam. What about Nuh alayhi salam? What religion he come with? Islam. The same for Yaqub, the same with Ibrahim, the same with Ishaq. They all came with what? Islam, because all of the prophets and the messengers, they were Muslims. Naam. Islam is the way of the prophets and the messengers. Naam. The Shaykh, he says, وَكُلُّ نَبِي دَاعَ إِلَى اللَّهِ. Every prophet, he called to Allah. وَجَاءَ بِشَرِيعَةٍ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. And he came with a legislative law that was from Allah Jalla wa Ala. فَذَلِكَ هُوَ الْإِسْلام. And this is Islam. This is Islam. The Shaykh, he says, فَالْإِسْلَامُ عِبَادَةُ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ وَحْدَهُ فِي كُلِّ وَقْتٍ بِمَا شَرَعَ. So Islam, and I want you to understand, because the Shaykh, he brings a general definition for al-Islam. So I want you to write this down inside of your books, inshaAllah ta'ala. And that is Islam. It is the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal. It is to worship Allah Azza wa Jal in every time and in every era. طيب. Al-Islam is the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal in every time and in every era. With that which He has legislated. With that which He has legislated. That's Islam. طيب. Everyone got it down? Need it repeated?
What is error?
Just time period. Yeah. Every time. You can say every time. But yeah, everyone has it? But if someone say it to me, what is it? Nah, okay.
Islam is to worship Allah in every time and every era without which He has mentioned.
Nah, percent. Yeah, shut up. The Shaykh says, فَقَدْ شَرَعَ اللَّهُ لِأَنْبِيَاء شَرَائِعْ إلى آجال ثم ينسخها فإذا نسخت كان العمل بالناسخ هو الإسلام. Very important point. It says that Allah Ta'ala, He legislated for the Anbiya legislations, but they have to a time frame, for a time frame, right? And then they were abrogated. Allah legislated a legislation to one prophet, then another prophet came and had a legislation legislated to him, which abrogated the previous legislation. The Shaykh says, so therefore, working in accordance to that which abrogates, working in accordance to the abrogator is Islam. So working according to the latest Sharia, for lack of a better term, that's Islam. Make sense? So a person can't come and say, but the Jews, they're okay because they're following the Sharia of Musa. Firstly, we know that's not true. That's first of all. But second of all, for argument's sake, even if it was true, it's no longer valid because that Sharia, that particular Sharia, has been abrogated by that which came after it. Okay? So holding on to a Sharia that has been abrogated, that's not Islam. So the person and practitioner of that Sharia that has been abrogated is not a Muslim. It's not a Muslim. Because what he's acting and a practitioner of is no longer Islam. That makes sense? Well then? No. The Shaykh says, إِلَى أَن نُسِخَتْ تِلْكَ الشَّرَائِعِ بِشَرِيعَةِ مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says, so you will find in all of these shara'i', they have been abrogated by the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So all of the previous legislations, they have been abrogated by the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So now let me ask you this. If a person, he comes with something that is contrary to the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but he claims that there is a proof for it in a previous legislation. He claims that inside of a previous legislation, you will find a proof for that thing in which he is mentioning. Based upon what we have heard from the Shaykh, will we give any credence to what this person is saying? Would that be valid and we lend to him any type of credence in that regard? Yes or no? Huh?
No.
No. We won't lend him any credence in that regard. Why? Because we follow the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. No.
Even though we believe in the Prophet,
Mm-hmm.
but we follow the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam.
Now, even though we believe in that Prophet, we follow the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Because even if that Prophet were alive today, then they will have to what? They will have to follow the Sunnah of who? Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And it's something that's very important for us to know. Because you find people from the field of innovation, and they try to utilize these things from previous shara'i, or what they claim to be from previous legislative laws, as a proof or evidence. But we know by the sending of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, then these shara'i, they have been abrogated, and they are no longer effective or in effect. ويقول الله جل وعلا, Allah جل وعلا, He says, لكل أجل كتاب يمحو الله ما يشاء ويثبت وعنده الكتاب. Allah Ta'ala, He says what means, and for each and every matter there is a decree from Allah Ta'ala. For each and every matter there is a decree from Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala, He will wipe out or erase what He wants to, and He will confirm what He wills. So you'll find that there are certain aspects of that which the Prophet ﷺ, he came with, meaning from the legislative laws, that may agree and coincide with previous legislative laws. But then there are other things that are different from those legislative laws. But we're talking, when we say legislative laws, we're talking about those areas of jurisprudence. Those areas of jurisprudence. As far as the aqidah, as far as the beliefs of the Anbiya wal Rusul, then their beliefs were one. They all had the exact same belief. There was no difference in the belief. When we say a difference in the Sharia, that we're talking about in the legislative laws. In the legislative laws. That makes sense? But yeah. So perhaps there were people who before us, they didn't pray 5 times a day, but they prayed a different number of times a day, because that was revealed to them in their Sharia. So they had to abide by that. But as far as us, then we pray 5 times a day. We can't come and say, oh, but a previous nation, they only prayed X amount of times, so I'm going to pray X amount of times in compliance with that Sharia. No. We have to be compliant to the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But yeah. The Shaykh, he says, for the Islam, before that, let me finish the translation of it. Allah Ta'ala, He will erase or blot out what He wills, and He will confirm what He wills. And with Allah is the mother of the book. And with Allah is the mother of the book. Naam. Meaning, Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz. The mother of the book here, it means what? Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz. The Shaykh, he says, فَالْإِسْلَامُ هُوَ مَا جَاءَ بِهِ الرُّسُلُ. So Islam is that which the prophets they came with. That's Islam. مِنْ دَعْوَةٍ وَعَمَلٍ. From their call, from the actions, في كل وقت بحسبه, as related to the time frames, نعم. وإلى أن جاء بعثة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم, until the sending of Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, فصار الإسلام هو ما جاء به دون غيره. And this is the specific definition for Islam. So the general definition of Islam is that which we have given you. That's the general one. The specific one, it is that which the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with, and not other than it. That's the specific. So a person, they say, what is meant by Islam in a specific sense? Then specifically, we say it is that which the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came with, and not other than it. That's the specific Islam. So what's the general Islam? General. What's the general Islam?
Islam is what the Prophet.
No. The general.
The Prophet came with.
One more time.
Is that what the prophets came with? All the prophets.
That which all the prophets came with. Another way to word that is what? No.
Worship Allah in every time and every era which He legislated.
Now to worship Allah every time and every that which He legislated. But what's the specific Islam? When we say we're talking about Islam in specific sense, we're talking about what? What the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with. Naam. And not other than that. Naam. The Shaykh, he says, فَمَنْ بَقِيَ عَلَى أَدْيَانِ السَّابِقَةِ وَلَمْ يُؤْمِنْ بِمُحَمَّدٍ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ فَلَيْسَ بِمُسْلِمٍ. So whoever stays upon a previous religion and he does not believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then he is not a Muslim. He's not a Muslim. A person, he comes and he says, I believe in Isa. I'm a follower of Isa. I believe in Isa. but I don't believe in Muhammad sallallahu then that person is in actuality what? A believer or a disbeliever? He's a disbeliever. That's clear. He's a disbeliever because he disbelieves in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وقال الشيخ عثيمين رحمه الله تعالى, he said بل كفروا أو بل كفر بعيسى بعينه. He said, but rather they disbelieve, or this individual, he disbelieves in Isa specifically. Not just he don't believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but specifically he don't believe in Isa, because Isa gave bushra of the coming of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He gave the glad tidings of the coming of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So by them disbelieving in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they disbelieve in what Isa told them that the Prophet was going to come. Naam. And the one who disbelieves in one of the messengers, he disbelieves what? In all of the messengers. Disbelieves in all of the messengers. Naam. And it's something that's very important. So when a person looks upon it from this standpoint, he understands it from this standpoint, then where does they enter, what do you call them thing? The unification of the religions. Interfaith dialogue. Where does that come into play? Where does that come into play? Where they would join hands with the rabbis and join hands with the preachers and say, but these are people of the book. These are believers. How? How are they believing? How? The Yahud, they don't believe in Isa, they don't believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How in the world are they believers? The Christians, they don't believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So how are they believers? How? The answer is quite simply because they're not. They're kuffar. They're kuffar. So, when you look at it from this standpoint, it seems quite simple, doesn't it? It's like a person would say this is well known in Islam. This is like, how they articulate here, like Islam 101, right? This is well known in Islam. Sahwalillah. This is well known in Islam. So then, how would you give credence to anyone or give an ear to anyone that goes against something that is so basic in its principle as relates to the deen of Islam? This is a basic concept in the deen of Islam. So how we give an ear to someone who say otherwise? No. The Jews and Christians are believers. Cave. You believe the Jews and the Christians are believers, then why would we want to give an ear to this person? How do you give an ear to a person like that? How do you join ranks with a person like that? And in that a person, he will see, therefore, another aspect and another illustration of how Iqna and Isna and Maghrib Institute and Zaytuna and whoever, you see the misguidance that they are upon. The misguidance that they are upon. That you have individuals with them and they are believers of this. So this for the layman is enough for them to want to stay away. You have people from there and they'll call us to this, and they cooperate with individuals who call to this, and they giving classes and masajid that are linked and related to this. But with that being the case, I don't want to hear nothing that they have to say. I don't want to hear nothing that they should ever mention and articulate, because obviously they have nothing to offer me, because these ones, they don't even benefit themselves. So how are they going to benefit me? Right? So it's another illustration, another standpoint why the Salafy is as the Salafy is, where he don't give these people the time of the day. He don't give these people the time of the day. He never lends to these people his ear. He never sits with them and listens to them, and so on and so forth. Nah, this is not the way of the Salafi. The Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he mentions, so therefore this one who's sticking to a previous Sharia, he's not a Muslim. The one who don't believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not a Muslim. حيث لم ينقد لله عز وجل ولم يطع هذا الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said because this individual, he's not compliant to Allah Azza wa Jal, nor does he obey. He has yet to be compliant, and he has yet to Allah Azza wa Jal, and he has yet to obey this messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. لأن ما كان عليه قد انتهى, because that which he is upon is over, ونسخ, and it has been abrogated. والبقاء على منسوخ ليس دينا لله عز وجل إنما عملوا بالناسخ هو الدين. Because staying upon that which has been abrogated, that is not being upon the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, but rather working in accordance to that which is the abrogator, then that is what it means to be upon the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. وقال العلامة الشيخ ربيع حفظه الله تعالى, he says, يبين على مكانة السنة. He said he makes it clear the status of the sunnah. فإن الإسلام هو دعوة الأنبياء جميعا, because Islam, it is a da'wah of all of the anbiya. So a person tells you have to be Sunni, Salafi, they're calling you to be upon the way of the anbiya, rusul. They're calling you to be upon the way of the prophets and the messengers. That is something that is tremendous. That is something that we cannot afford to live without. That is something that is precious. That is something that leaving it is not acceptable. So understand the importance. Understand the status of the sunnah. The sunnah, being upon the sunnah, then this means to be upon that which the anbiya and the rusul they were upon. And to be upon opposite of the sunnah is to be upon opposite than that which the anbiya and the rusul they were upon. So that which is opposite than the way of the prophets and the messengers, is that something that's a little boo-boo, or is that something that is tremendously the epitome of dangerous? Which one is it? Huh? It's very dangerous. It's not a little danger, that's a big danger. Not a little slip, little error, it's something that is tremendous, it's big. So therefore it is a must, and we understand this. The Shaykh Rabi' Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he mentions, he says, قال الله تعالى إن الدين عند الله الإسلام, that verily the only religion that is accepted with Allah, it is Islam. It's the only religion that is accepted by Allah Ta'ala. It's what? It's al-Islam. So it's important that we know this and that we understand this. وقال الله تعالى, Allah Ta'ala, he says, ومن يبتغي غير الإسلام دينا فلا يقبل منه وهو في الآخرة من الخاسرين. And whoever he wants and desires a deen other than al-Islam, it will never be accepted from him. Never ever will it be accepted from him. And in the hereafter he will be from the losers. In the hereafter he will be from the losers. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. وَقَوْلُهُ السُنَّةِ هِيَ الْإِسْلَامِ, his statement that the sunnah it is al-Islam. Shaykh Fawzan, he says, لَا فَرْقْ بَيْنَهُمَا, there's no difference between them two. There's no difference in between them two. The Shaykh, he says, إِذَا فَسَّرْنَا السُنَّةِ بِالطَّرِيقِ أو بِالطَّرِيقَةِ فَلَا فَرْقَ بَيْنَهَا وَبَيْنَ الْإِسْلام. He said, this is if we understand that the word that was meant by the word sunnah and explain it by a tariqah, that the way. He said, then therefore there is no difference between it and between al-Islam. وقال الشيخ العلامة الشيخ ربيع حفظه الله تعالى السنة هي طريقة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is what is meant by tariq. As the Shaykh Fawzan, he says, if we understand that the sunnah is, it means by tariqah, it is the way. Then Shaykh Rabi' Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he mentions, he says what? That the sunnah, it is the tariq, is the tariq of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa minhaju, and it is the minhaj of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa akhlaqu, and the character and mannerisms of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَمَنْ لَمْ يأتي بهذه السنة فهو مبتدع ضال. And whoever does not come with this sunnah, whoever does not come with the sunnah, then he is a mubtadi', he is an innovator, and he is astray. So a person, they come and they don't come with the sunnah, that person is who? Mubtadi'. And that person is what? He's astray. Do you want to waste your time with a person who's mubtadi' and astray? Do you? No. You want to jeopardize your own deen for a person who's mubtadi' and he's astray? Huh? No. You wouldn't. It's not worth it, is it? But it's from logic that you spend your time and your efforts and your energies with what? With those who are striving upon the sunnah. Those who are striving upon the sunnah, because those who are striving upon the sunnah, we love them for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We love them for the sake of Allah jalla wa ala. وقال الإمام رحمه الله تعالى لا يقوم أحدها إلا بالآخر. And one is not established except with the other. You can't establish one without the other. Person can't say, yeah, I'm Muslim, but I don't want nothing to do with the Sunnah. Person can't come and say, yeah, I want to be upon the Sunnah, but I don't want to be a Muslim. No, you need them both. The Shaykh says, لا يقوم الإسلام إلا بالسنة. Islam will not be established except with the Sunnah. ولا تقوم السنة إلا بالإسلام. And the Sunnah won't be established except with al-Islam. فالذي يدعي الإسلام ولا يعمل بالسنة أي طريقة الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس بمسلم. So whoever he claims that he's upon al-Islam, however, he does not act in accordance to the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then this person, he is not a Muslim. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we're going to go more into this point and bring further clarity, inshaAllah ta'ala. The Shaykh, he says, وَالَّذِي يَعْلَمُ السُّنَّةِ وَلَا يُسْلِمْ لِلَّهِ جَلَّ وَعَلَى لَيْسَ بِمُسْلِمٍ إِذَا عَرَفَ السُّنَّةِ فَلَا بُدَّ مِنْ جَمْعٍ بَيْنَهُمَا. He said, and likewise, the person who he knows the Sunnah, but he don't submit himself to Allah as a Muslim, then this person, he is not a Muslim. Even if he knows the Sunnah, is a must that we have to combine between the two of these. You will find that these points about the aqeedah of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, it is a must, and they merge together because good leads to good. The Imam, rahimahullah ta'ala, he goes on and he mentions, he says, فَمِنَ السُنَّةِ لُزُومُ الْجَمَاعَةِ فَمِنَ السُنَّةِ لُزُومُ الْجَمَاعَةِ. And from the Sunnah is that we have to stick to the Jama'ah. We have to stick to the Jama'ah. فَمَنْ رَغِبَ غَيْرَ الْجَمَاعَةِ وَفَارِقُهَا. And the one who he intends and he wants other than the Jama'ah, and he splits from the Jama'ah, فَقَدْ خَلَعَ رِبْقَةَ الْإِسْلَامِ مِنْ عُنُقِهِ. That he would have removed the yoke of Islam from his neck. He will have removed the yoke of Islam from his neck. وَكَانَ ضَلًّا مُضِلًّا. And he will be one who is astray and he leads others astray. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we're going to go further into these points in specific, inshaAllah ta'ala, in coming classes. However, and fulfilling what we had mentioned earlier, that we will come back to the point of how the individual who is not following the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that he is not a Muslim. So as to bring further clarity to this particular point, the Allama Shaykh Ahmad al-Najmi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, Inna al-Islam huwa Sunnah wa Sunnah hiya al-Islam. He said, verily Islam is the Sunnah, and the Sunnah it is Islam. The Shaykh says, Kayfa dhalik? How is that? How is that? So we get some more understanding on this. The Shaykh says, يعني أن الإسلام الحقيقي هو السنة. Because the true Islam is what? Is the Sunnah. A person wants to know how do you be a true Muslim. You be a true Muslim by what? By being upon the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because no one argues. There's not a single person that'll argue, was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam the ideal Muslim? Yes. Was the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ the best Muslim? Yes. So what does it mean to be an ideal Muslim? How do we be an ideal Muslim? By being like who? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. This is why Allah Ta'ala tells us that the Prophet ﷺ is what? He's for us uswatun hasana. He's a good example. The best example for us is who? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So therefore, if we want to implement Islam the way it's supposed to be implemented, then we have to do it in accordance to the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. That's why Islam is the Sunnah, and the Sunnah is al-Islam. Naam, we understand a little better now from that angle. طيب. The Shaykh, he says, فَمَنْ اسْتَقَامَ عَلَى السُّنَّةِ وَأَقَامَهَا فَقَدْ أَقَامَ الْإِسْلَامِ. So whoever he is straight up and he establishes and he's upright upon the Sunnah and he establishes it, then he has what? Established Islam. Because can you establish Islam without establishing the Sunnah? No. But if you establish the Sunnah, then by default you do what? You have established Islam. Naam. That's why the Sunnah is Islam and Islam is the Sunnah, and one will not be established without the other. Make a little more sense. Wadah? Naam. The Shaykh, he says, وَمَنْ أَعْوَجَ عَنْهَا وَمَا أَوْ نعم وَمَنْ أَعْوَجَ عَنْهَا ومال يمنة أو يسرة فإنه قد أخل بالإسلام الحقيقي بانحرافه ذلك. He says, whoever sways and he corrupts and he goes astray and he make his way crooked, he sways either to the right or to the left, then verily this person, he has diminished and he has corrupted the true Islam to the degree of his deviation. Then he would have swayed away from the true Islam to the degree of his deviation. So I want you to go back now to the statement of Shaykh Salih Fawzan where he said that the one who doesn't implement the Sunnah, he's not a Muslim. Because now we're going to understand the true reality and the light and the scope of that statement, bidnillahi ta'ala, or that which we hope was better to understand not. Because the Shaykh Ahmad al-Najmi, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions, he says that, اعلم أن الميل ينقسم إلى قسمين. He says, so therefore you have to know, in light of what we're saying, you have to know that leaning away and deviating from the Sunnah is of two types. Deviating from the Sunnah is in two types. Right? Not every deviation is the same. It's in two types. You have a mayl kulli. The first type is a mayl kulli. This is a leaning away from the Sunnah in totality. In totality. You with me? طيب. The second type is mayl juz'i. Is a leaning away from the Sunnah partially. It's not a total leaning away from the Sunnah. It's a partial leaning away from the Sunnah. Well there? You understand? طيب. So when we look at the first one, a total leaning away from the Sunnah, the Shaykh, he says, yakfur sahib. Then the one, he's a kafir. The one who turns away from the Sunnah in totality, then he's a kafir. نعم. ويحكم عليه بأنه قد خرج من الإسلام بالكلية. And it is ruled upon him that he has left Islam in totality. The one who turns his back on every single aspect of the Sunnah from Alif to Ya, A to Z, then what? Obviously he's not a Muslim. The one who has absolutely no aspect of the Sunnah with him, no percentage of the Sunnah that he have with him, he has no portion of the Sunnah with him, then this person is what? Obviously he is a kafir. And this is what the Shaykh al-Fawzan, he was talking about, that a person, he don't act in accordance to the Sunnah at all, then this person is what? He is a kafir. So how do we understand the statement of Shaykh Fawzan? That he's talking about the one who turns away from Islam and what? Turns away from the Sunnah in what? Totality. So this person, they should be Muslim. As the Shaykh say, he's not a Muslim. Right? Could he turn away from Islam in totality? So now if a person come and he say, but I was reading here through the explanation of Shaykh Fawzan, I don't understand the statement. It sounds like the Shaykh making takfir on people. That the Mubtadi is a kafir, right? No, not necessarily. Mubtadi? No. Right? The person who leans away, he goes upon bid'ah, he does the bid'ah mukaffirah, and he turns away from Islam and a total turning away from the deen of al-Islam, then he's a kafir. Right? طيب. Why? Because he turned away in totality. This is what the Shaykh he was talking about. So did the Shaykh he made takfir on these kuffar? Yeah. Why? Because they kuffar. Because he turned away in totality. The Shaykh was not speaking about the one who turns away, what? Partially. These ones we call about them, we say about them that they what? Mubtadi'. We say about these ones that they what? Mubtadi'. The one who come with the bid'ah, that's mufassiqah. He comes with a bid'ah that's not from kufriya, not the bid'ah that makes him a kafir, but he comes with the other type of bid'ah. Now, then this person, we say about them that they are what? Mubtadi'. Right? Because their leaning is what? Partial. Their leaning is partial. So this brings us to the next type. The Shaykh he says, Mail Juz'i, La yukaffir sahibu. That the Mail Juz'i, the person, his companion is not a kafir. وَلَا يُحْكَمْ عَلَيْهِ بِرْتِدَادٍ. And we do not rule upon him that he has apostated. The one who his bid'ah is in proportion, or his turning away from the sunnah is partially. He turned away from the sunnah because he went to a bid'ah. You understand what I'm saying? Because if a person they take to a bid'ah in the issue, he can't be upon the sunnah in that issue as well. You understand? If a person take to a bid'ah in a particular issue, then that means he's not upon the sunnah in that issue. Can't be both. You with me? But and this is why, it was this is a side point. It was so hilarious. The person he came and he said أنا سلفي صوفي. ايش هذا؟ أنا سني بدعي. What sense that make? And he was like dead serious. He said I'm a Sufi Salafi. What? Allah Musta'an. The two don't coexist, man. Allah Musta'an. Allah Musta'an. If a person's upon bid'ah in the issue, then he's not upon the sunnah in that issue, and vice versa. Ala kulli hal, the Shaykh he says we don't rule that this person is a we don't rule that this person he's a mubtadi'. That he's a kafir. He's mubtadi'. We don't rule that he's a kafir. These ones, they are not kuffar, and we don't rule that they have apostated from the religion. The Shaykh he says al-khuruj wa khuruj an al-Islam, and we don't say that they have left Islam. ولكنه قد انتقص من الإسلامه أو من إسلامه بقدر ميله ذلك قلا ذلك الميل أو كثر ما هو دليل على ما قلنا. The Shaykh he says, the one who leans partially or in partial, the one who partially leans away from the sunnah, then he's not a kafir and he's not an apostate. He does not leave the deen of al-Islam, but rather his deficiency in his Islam will be according to his leaning away from the sunnah, whether that's a little bit or it's a lot. It will be in accordance to his leaning away. You understand? So the deficiencies in his deen, it will be in accordance to how much he deviated. So if he deviated a lot, they have a big deficiency in his deen. If he deviated a little bit, then he will have a little deviation inside of his deen. But whatever way he deviates and goes away from the sunnah, it will put a deficiency inside of his deen. His deen will be deficient. Why? Because leaning away from the sunnah. So the Shaykh he said this, and then the Shaykh he says, وَمَا هُوَ دَلِيلٌ عَلَى مَا قُلْنَا. He said, and what's the dalil for what we said? You see the people of the sunnah? Yeah, that's why you got to love the people of the sunnah. You have to love the ulama. Because the ulama, they say what they say to you, and then they bring you what? Dalil. Because what they're saying is based upon the book and the sunnah. It's based upon adillah. The ulama, they're not those who just speak from what they speaking with. And then when you say, yeah, Shaykh, can I please ask you what's your dalil? And he said, the dalil, I'm the Shaykh. That's the dalil. I told you, that's it. What you questioning me for? You got bad manners. Why you questioning say what the Shaykh dalil is? You heard that before, right? You telling me to say, yeah, I didn't say, but please, Shaykh, can you send me the dalil? Maybe I want to share it with someone else. You sound the Shaykh. You asking me that? You have bad manners. No, that guy got bad manners. He's evil, Shaykh. You speak about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to bring forth dalil. Look how awesome and how great was Shaykh Ahmed al-Najmi, rahimahullah ta'ala. And the Allama, Shaykh Ahmed al-Najmi, rahimahullah ta'ala. How much did he reach from knowledge and that? But yet the Shaykh, he's offering you what? A dalil. He said, and what's the dalil for that which we just mentioned? What's the dalil for that? What's the dalil for that? That a person could be upon bid'ah, but he's not what? A kafir. What's the dalil? Shaykh he says, الدليل حديث افتراق. The dalil is the hadith of iftiraq, the hadith of the separation. Person he come and he say mubtadi', kafir, yes, no. We say what? No, mubtadi' is not a kafir. The mubtadi' who has the bid'ah, mufassiqa, he's not a kafir. He's not a kafir. What's the dalil that he's not a kafir? The second type, who have a partial leaning. What's the dalil that he's not a kafir? Is the hadith of the breakup of the ummah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, افترقت اليهود على 71 فرقة وافترقت النصارى على 72 فرقة وسترك هذه الأمة على 73 فرقة كلها في النار إلا واحدة. قالوا وما هم يا رسول الله ومن هم يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أي من هي تلك واحدة ومن هم أهلها. الذين ينجون من النار. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم هم الذين على مثل ما أنا عليه وأصحابي. The Shaykh, he says, the dalil is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said that the Jews, they broke up into 71 sects, and that the Christians, they broke into 72 sects, and that he said, and this nation is talking about who? The Muslims. Prophet ﷺ, he said, this nation, the Muslims, they will break into 73 different sects. All of them will be in the fire except for one. So they mean that the nation of Muslims will break into sects. They'll break into sects based upon and due to what? Due to their bid'ah. This is what's going to remove them from the habl of Allah Ta'ala, because they want to go do some bid'ah. Right? So this is what removed them. But so these individuals, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that these 72 sects, they're going to be inside where? The fire, and only one is going to be safe. Meaning that, or from the standpoint that we know that these Muslims are going to be in the fire because of their bid'ah. But with that, they're still Muslims. So this is a dalil that the mubtadi' who leans away from the sunnah with a partial leaning, then he's still a Muslim. Because the Prophet ﷺ referred to them being from this ummah. So he's Muslim. This is one. Two, because he's a Muslim, that means he's not going to stay in the fire forever. You understand that? Because no Muslim going to stay in the fire forever. So that mubtadi' who live his life upon bid'ah, now we have to go to hell in the akhirah and be cleansed from that bid'ah that he was upon. He will not stay there, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not treat the believers like He treat the disbelievers. Disbelievers, they stay in hell how long? Forever. So therefore the believer, even if he has to go to hell, he's not going to stay what? Forever. Because Allah does not treat the believer like He treat the disbeliever. Disbeliever stay there forever. The believer come out. This is one. Another point is that the believer won't get punished in the same part of the fire as the kafir, because Allah doesn't treat the believer like a disbeliever, so they don't get punished in the same part. Those have to be cleansed for their bid'ah. So they'll come out, and then they'll go to the Jannah. So the mere fact that these people, they came and they leaned away from the sunnah, and then they went to the hellfire, but then they come out the hellfire, and then they enter into Jannah, is an indication that they're what? Muslims. Because ain't no kafir going to be in Jannah. So this is indicating that they're what? They're Muslims. They're Muslims. So the mubtadi', he's what? He's your Muslim brother. He's your Muslim brother. And it's important for us to know and to understand that. And to understand the statements of the ulama in the proper context. So they had asked, and which is that safe sect, O Messenger of Allah? Meaning, which is that one who will be saved from the fire? In which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, they are those who are upon what I and my companions are upon. The Shaykh says, ثُمَّ اعْلَمُوا أَنَّ الْوَعِيبَ النَّارِ عَلَى سَائِرِ الْفِرَقِ. He said, and know that the threat of going to the fire is on all of those groups. وَلَيْسَ مَعْنَ ذَلِكَ أَنَّهُمْ كُلُّهُمْ مُخَلَّدُونَ فِي النَّارِ. And it don't mean that they're all going to stay in the fire. It don't mean that. ولكن من خالف عما جاء به الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم وعما كان عليه هو وأصحابه رضي الله تعالى عنهم فإما أن يكون خلافه موجب للردة. He said, you have those who have contradicted and gone against the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, gone against the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they have gone against that which the Sahaba were upon. You have from them those who their opposition necessitates their apostasy or apostasy, والخروج من الإسلام, and that they leave the Islam. فهذا يكون مخلدا في النار, and this one he will be in the hellfire forever. ومن كان مخالفته جزئية نعم وكان باقيا عن الإسلام فهو موعد بالنار ويرجو ما يرجو الموحدون من الخروج من النار. He said, but for the one who his opposition is only partially and he stays upon al-Islam, then this one he is threatened with the fire, and we want for him what we want for all of those who implement the Tawheed, and that is that they come out the fire. So that the one who goes against the way of the Prophet ﷺ and the way of the Sahaba, and he stays in the hellfire forever, this is the one who committed which type of going against the Sunnah? What type of leaning away from the Sunnah? The first or the second? Which one was it? The first. What's the first one? To lean against it or to go against it in? Totality. Now, But for the one who that we want for him and we wish for him that which we wish for those who implement the Tawheed, is that they're going to come out the fire. Who is this one for? It's for group A or group B? 1 and 2? For 2. And these are the ones who they lean against the Sunnah and what? Partially. Naam. So group 1 or group 2, which one stays in hell forever? Group 1. Which one come out the hell and go to Jannah? Group 2. Which one is Muslims? Group 2. Which one is Kuffar? Group 1. Naam, ahsant. The Shaykh, he says, and we understand this, that those who implement the Tawheed, they will come out of the fire. لما ثبت في أحاديث الشفاعة أن الله عز وجل يخرج من النار من مات على التوحيد. He said we understand this from the hadith of Shafa'ah, that Allah Ta'ala, He will take out of the fire those who died upon at-Tawheed. So how important is Tawheed, ya ikhwan? How important is Tawheed, ya ikhwan? SubhanAllah, it's so important. Naam, it's so important. That's why Tawheed is the first thing the prophets and the messengers they call to. It's so important. The person, he will come out of the fire if he died upon Tawheed. He died upon Islam, he's Muslim, he had with him Tawheed, he's going to come out of the fire. Istami'u. The Shaykh, he says, وَكَانَ مَعَهُ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. And the one who had with him Iman, he has some faith with him, he has some Iman with him. The Shaykh, he says, وَلَوْ كَانَ شَيْئًا قَلِيلًا. Even if he only had a real little bit of Iman. You understand what I'm saying? Even if he had a real little bit of Iman, what's going to happen? He's going to come out the fire. He's going to come out the fire. Naam. We benefit so many things from this. From that which we benefit is that no Muslim going to stay in the hell forever. No Muslim going to stay in the hell forever. We see from it the importance of it, Tawheed. Why Tawheed is important. Naam. We have to be amongst the people of the Sunnah, because these are the ones who they are constantly teaching about Tawheed. This is another point we benefit from it. We have to be with the people of the Sunnah, because they're constantly teaching about Tawheed, putting emphasis upon Tawheed, memorizing the books and the mutun that deal with the affair of Tawheed, highlighting the Tawheed that are found in every ayah of the Quran, highlighting the importance of sticking to and being upon Tawheed. We learn this from this. Also, we learn that what? That the person who dies upon it Tawheed, he's going to come out of the fire. We learn from this also that the one who he has Iman, he will come out of the fire. The one who has Iman, he'll come out of the fire. Even if he has a little bit of Iman, even if he has an added weight of Iman, a little bit of Iman, he's going to come out of the fire. Naam, so we benefit. Also in this understanding, right, that we understand from the hadith Shafa'ah, for example, mathalan, is that we understand that this hadith is a refutation upon the Murji'ah, and it's a refutation upon the Khawarij. You understand? We understand all this from this hadith Shafa'ah. It is a refutation upon the Murji'ah, because the Murji'ah, they say Iman is one thing, it's not affected. Everybody got the same amount of Iman. But it's not the case, because those who got a little bit of Iman, they still going to come out of the fire. So this is an indication that you had those who had more Iman than them, greater Iman than them, better Iman than them, and so on and so forth. So it shows us that Iman is not one thing, and everyone is on different levels as relates to Iman. So it's not one thing. So it's refutation upon them. Those ones who believe that the Iman is one thing. And likewise, you find the Khawarij will lead them to what they went into, is that they also believe Iman is one thing. Either you have it or you don't. If you do an act, violate the Iman, then all the Iman go away at one time. So it's refutation upon them. No, that's not the case. A person's Iman is not one thing, and we see that from this hadith, that those who have a little bit of Iman, then they will come out of the fire as well. So it's refutation upon the Khawarij. Those who believe that Iman is affected and is one thing, so once it's affected, it's all gone, it refutes them, because Iman is not one thing. The Muslims are different levels of Iman, and it's a refutation upon the Murji'ah, who believe that Iman is only one thing, and that nothing affects the Iman. That everyone has a complete portion of it, the same Iman like the Malaika, the same Iman like the Anbiya and the Rasul, like the Sahaba, and so on and so forth. And of course we understand this is absurd. No one believes that he has Iman like the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Which one of you believe you got Iman like Jibreel? Nobody in his right mind believes something like that. You understand? And hence in that expression lies the point. Nobody in their right mind. These persons, they're not inside their right mind. Now, ala kulli hal, this hadith is refutation upon them. Iman is not one thing, but Iman varies from point to point. And these are just some of the points that jump out, and there are many, many points upon this. So it's important for us to reflect and to think about it. Darda, just as a reminder, Darda, rahimahullah ta'ala, it was asked, and what was one of the most outstanding or one of the most avid acts of worship that Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala used to do. So Darda radiallahu ta'ala, she mentioned that one of the acts of worship that he will engage in the most and often was he would reflect and he will contemplate over the Book of Allah and over the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I encourage everyone to contemplate over the Book of Allah, to contemplate over the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to contemplate over the guidance and the ways and that which the Salaf they were upon, because you'll find therein many fruits, you'll find therein many blessings, you'll find therein many things that will help to strengthen you, one, and help to safeguard and protect you. So when the likes from these people come along and they start talking about this irja, or they start talking about the khuruj and stuff like this from the khawarij, then subhanallah we say, these guys, they don't even understand the hadith shafa'ah. So I don't want to hear nothing you have to say. You don't understand hadith shafa'ah. Get out of here. So it helps to make you firm when you reflect over the proofs and the evidences, and it helps to increase you in certainty to know that you're upon the haqq, and it's like our Sheikh Ali Wasifi, hafidhullah ta'ala, he mentioned that you Ahl Sunnah, Ta'ifatul Mansura, you are the one, those people who's upon the haqq. So be happy about that. Be happy about this, and do never tolerate those people who will try to come and break up your ranks and to scatter your ranks and to sever your unity. Never tolerate the likes of these people, because verily these are people who they don't love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فهذا والله أعلم. فنكتفي بهذا القدر، وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا.